Absolutely definitive. Jon Jones is the greatest mixed martial artist that has ever walked the planet. This guy can do it all. From elite level kicking techniques, he can kick you upside the head better than anybody, to doing some of the most crazy, insane throws that you've ever seen in a UFC fight. Jon Jones is the puzzle that continues to go unsolved. Jon Jones has been in 15 title fights and has won them all. 14 title fights if you include the no contest with Daniel Cormier, and 13 title defenses. That is an insane number, especially when you compare it to someone like Khabib, who people also consider to be the best of all times. Khabib only had 3 title defenses compared to Jon Jones's 13 title defenses. I'm a massive Khabib fan. I did the breakdown on Khabib. Jon Jones is the GOAT if you look at the numbers and works in the cage. Now, Jon Jones is my favorite fighter to watch ever, because he is the best ever. Every time I watch Jon Jones fight, I learn a whole bunch about martial arts. And the thing that I want to see more than anything is a heavyweight Jon Jones, and I'll tell you why. If Jon Jones comes in as a true heavyweight, like he's cutting down to 265, then what you're about to see is the greatest, most dangerous, unarmed combatant of all times in the entire. He beat 2 Achilles. Could he beat Goliath? Yeah, I think he could beat 2 Goliaths. Could he beat Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali? Yeah, I think he could beat 2 Mike Tysons or 2 Muhammad Alis. I think he's so good, he could even throw Bruce Lee, Muhammad Ali, and Mike Tyson together in a room with a heavyweight Jon Jones, and I don't necessarily know who's going to win that fight. The 3 of them or a heavyweight Jon Jones. It could go either way. Now, before you get all uppity at me, yes, I'm exaggerating a little bit. That's how much I want to communicate, though, how good I think Jon Jones is. And the real thing that matters is, could Jon Jones beat Francis Ngannou? Well, maybe he can't take 2 Francis Ngannous, but I bet he could take 1.5 Francis Ngannous. I think the skill difference there between Jon Jones and the top of the heavyweight division right now is so massive that Jon Jones is going to waltz right in there and clean the house. What's crazy is this is the longest breakdown I've ever done, and it's not even complete. This is gonna have to be a 2-parter. This is part 1. In part 1, we're gonna be covering the following: his striking, so all his punches, kicks, knees, and elbows, the feints that he uses while striking, and his defensive tactics while striking. We'll then be moving on to all of the throws that he uses from the clinch, and finally, we'll be finishing up with what he does when he's got you pressed up against the cage. How does he attack from that position? In part 2, we'll be going over his grappling. But I hope you join me for part 1. We have a massive, massive, massive amount of martial arts to cover. So please enjoy and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Thank you very much. So the thing to know about Jon Jones is that it is kicks above all else. He throws more kicks than he does every other strike put together. He essentially spams kicks like nobody I've ever seen before. To give you a point of reference, I collected all the clips of Jon Jones landing kicks in the UFC. I diligently went through and put them all into one video editing timeline. The footage added up to 21 minutes. These clips were all 3 to 5 seconds, and they added up to 25 minutes. For a point of reference, Khabib's total top game time in the UFC, and I know this because I did the breakdown on him, was about 25 minutes. How is Jon Jones able to kick this much with impunity almost? Length and takedown defense. His takedown defense is superb. No one can really take him down. One person took him down one time. Gustafsson took him down one time. but he couldn't hold him down for more than a few seconds. This combination of elite wrestling and elite kicking is what makes it possible for Jon Jones to just spam kicks. The oblique kick. You can almost think of this kick as a stomp, and it is so Jon Jones. I've never seen another fighter throw nearly half as many as he throws. And here's how it works, right? It's pretty unique in that the chamber is tilted outwards. See that outwards angle of his leg there? Really the only kick to use a chamber like that. The foot is turned sideways so it covers a wide surface area, and he's gonna jam his foot into the opponent's knee in a stomping like motion. You can even see here, Rampage is like, fuck, is that even legal? And it is legal. This kick Jon almost exclusively throws with his rear leg. I don't really see any lead leg obliques. What he can do, however, is throw them with both his right and his left legs, making it double trouble on either side. I will say, however, he is better with the right leg. The right leg seems to be doing the majority of the damage. When it comes to stance versus stance, Jon seems to do really a lot of damage when this kick, with both of them have the same leg forward, in this case the left leg. Here is where he really starts to just crush people's knees, and honestly, I am surprised that a knee just hasn't straight up torn inside that octagon yet. Now, this kick also works when it's left forward versus right forward. However, they don't seem to do as much of an impact as these left versus left kind of scenarios. I have an opinion, after watching all the Jon Jones clips, that this kick is better than the traditional round kick to the leg. He throws it just as much, and it has reasons for being better, which include it being straight and being a defensive tool, which we'll look at more in the defensive kick section. For now, let's look at another absolutely brutal attack, the lead low side kick to the knee. This thing is an absolute nuclear bomb waiting to go off if he hits your knee at the exact right place. You know, I was an old school Bruce Lee fan, still am, and he was a mega fan of this kick, so seeing this just makes me happy. Unlike the oblique kick, which is thrown with the rear leg, the lead leg side kick is obviously thrown with the lead leg. This makes it much closer to the opponent. In fact, the lead side kick thrown to the opponent's lead leg can be thought of as the longest weapon versus the closest target. That's why it's such a special kick, let alone the fact that it can just rip a human's knee into tiny little pieces. Jones has two different ways of throwing this kick. The first is a sliding one, where he slides his rear leg up to his front leg, like so. Now he brings his leg into a chambered position, and with his foot, he's just gonna stomp right on the opponent's knee. I mean, oh, it's nasty, it's nasty. Second version is he just lifts up the leg, and with his rear leg, he's now gonna hop in for a hopping side kick. So, the thing that's unique about this kick is that he throws it with the left leg. Most people throw it with their right leg. Why? Because it's a kick that really works better. All lead leg kicks really work better with your dominant side forward. I don't know if Jon Jones is a lefty or if he's figured out how to throw a side kick with his non-dominant leg. Each are unique problems for anyone he faces because it's rare to find side kicks coming from an orthodox stance, especially to the knee. When you thought the side kick problem you were in couldn't get bad enough, Jon Jones also uses a rear leg side kick. This move is so extremely rare to see, and Jon Jones does it pretty consistently. All it is going to be a side kick with the rear leg instead of the lead leg. And watch it here, rear leg comes up, then he throws a side kick. What's unique about this is it looks like a roundhouse kick first. You can see here how Gustafsson throws up a block for the roundhouse, leaving his knee exposed, and that's when Jon kicks the knee. To be successful with this kick, you really have to keep that in mind when you throw that. Always try to make it look like a roundhouse kick first, and it'll probably work better after landing some roundhouse kicks first. So let's talk about roundhouse kicks next. Start this off with a lead leg roundhouse kick, and Jon Jones uses this technique quite a bit. It's another really long attack. that Jon Jones can utilize those long legs for. So you can think about the way this attack hits in two different ways. The first is if we both have the same lead leg like you're seeing here right now. When this is happening, it's an inside low kick because it's going to hit inside of the thigh, right? Not too complicated. Jon Jones is actually very good at disrupting an opponent's balance when he throws this kick. He gets them off center for a split second, making them exposed to all kinds of other things. When done right, it also just freaking hurts. It's a really painful kick if someone can really start to use it effectively and land that shin. An inside low kick. Let's take a look at an outside low kick. An outside low kick happens when we have opposite lead legs forward. So right leg versus left leg in this situation. That's when it hits the outside of the opponent's leg. And this one's interesting too in that it can hit the calf much more easily. So you can do damage to both the thigh, as you're seeing here, and to the calf. A very effective kick also for getting the opponent off balance, using this technique to set up possibly another strike or interrupt the opponent as they come in, which we'll be talking about later. So make sure that you stay tuned for that part. That part's cool. So I feel like any good striker, Jon Jones has a solid rear roundhouse kick. This is the kick you just gotta have if you're striking. You gotta be able to hammer someone's thigh with your rear leg roundhouse kick. So with this kick, when we both have the same leg forward, it is gonna be an outside roundhouse kick, as you can see here, landing outside the thigh. And this is the most common low kick thrown in like Muay Thai or MMA. Everyone has to know this kick. Everyone has to be good with this kick because you can really crush somebody's thigh when using this kick. And Jon Jones is fantastic at getting shin placement on his kicks. Watch this here as it comes up. Look at the shin placement there. Just check this out, right? He gets so deep, his shin, he curls his foot around the opponent. That's how deep his shin gets on the thigh. Those hurt so very badly. That's the outside leg kick. Let's talk about the inside rear leg kick, which happens when they have opposite lead legs in the front, as you're seeing here. Jones also has tremendous shin placement on this technique as well. This is something that makes it very unique for Jon Jones. Usually people get very good at hitting the rear low kick. It is rare that you see someone land as many inside low kicks as you're seeing here. It's easier to do it with the outside than it is with the inside. But Jon has landed just about as many inside low kicks with the rear leg as he has outside low kicks with the rear legs. A pretty rare thing. Let's talk about a rear body roundhouse kick next. Unlike the other techniques I've been showing, which really work when the person has lead leg forward or opposite lead leg of you forward, this really only works when you both have opposite legs forward. The reason being is because with opposite legs forward, this leaves the opponent's stomach like very open. In this kind of situation, Southpaw versus Orthodox, this kick becomes huge. You hear Dominic Cruz talking about it all the time in his commentary. Whoever can dominate this kick really has a significant advantage in the striking battle. And it's a very powerful kick that, if landed correctly, could really just turn the person off. Drop him completely. Doesn't happen for Jones, though. He does, however, drop a person completely. He drops Vitor Belfort here with the lead side kick to the body, which is also an extremely useful technique and an extremely powerful technique. So watch this. He throws the boom side kick to the body, and Vitor just takes a seat. This is another kick that is generated by sliding the back leg up to the front leg, as you're about to see, and then tilting your body back as a counterbalance as you throw that kick out. And in this particular situation, Jon threw it so hard that Vitor literally was just like, dude, I cannot stand on my feet anymore. This is another one. If you were into like Bruce Lee or traditional martial arts, then you're just a big fan of this kick. It comes with the territory. And I don't really know why more people don't use it. I don't see it super often. In the old days, it was basically like as common as the jab, but in MMA, it hasn't really become that. I'll say this though, it's definitely being used more now than it was like 5 to 10 years ago. Massive increase in this kick. Okay, so the rear high roundhouse kick is a kick that Jon Jones has thrown more than probably any other fighter in the UFC. It's like shocking how many times he's actually thrown this kick in highest level competition and landed it. Here's the most significant one of that is when he bobbled Daniel Cormier there. And you know, Jon Jones is super freaking dangerous, and he's, like I said, the greatest non-armed combatant of all times. But that was the first time I really saw a strike do significant enough damage to really hurt someone to the fact that they almost got knocked out. Which is crazy because the amount of times that Jon has actually landed this kick is like off the charts. You wouldn't even believe it until you start really like doing what I did, getting all of them, really watching every single Jon Jones fight, and then getting the clips of this kick being landed. You wouldn't even believe how many times he's thrown it, or even like right there where he just hit him right upside the head. A lot of the times when I see Jon land this kick, I'm just thinking, how in the fuck is that guy standing up still? So a really interesting thing about this kick is that he really almost exclusively throws it with his left leg. I've seen him throw it with his right leg, but he throws it with his left leg so much more. That means that he's going to throw it from a southpaw stance, so it's from the opposite stance that he's throwing the oblique kick and the lead leg side kick from. It's really starting to make me think maybe he's a lefty, but the fact that he's so good with the rear leg oblique kick implies that he might be a righty. The thing that allows Jon to get away with throwing this many head kicks is that he throws like infinity leg kicks at you. When you're worried about the low kick, you start to forget about the high kick. When you're worried about your knee literally being ripped apart to shreds, that's when you start to become more open to these high kicks. And they're exceptionally dangerous, especially when you're tall and as powerful as Jon Jones. Why it's not knocking more people out, I have no idea, because he hits flush extremely often. Yeah, people block it, but my God, when he hits, he puts the whole shin across your face. And at some point, I don't really care if you blocked the kick. Even if you managed to get your hand up to block that thing, some of that definitely got through. People seem to think blocks just nullify all damage. They don't. A lot of times, a lot of that force still comes right through your guard, and it is uncomfortable even when you block. It can break your arms too. Very likely it could break your arms. So Jon Jones and the high kick, you gotta be careful of that thing, man. One thing I love about Jon Jones is he has what I call a fully integrated spinning back kick. What do I mean by that? I mean that he throws the spinning back kick so often, it's not even like a weird, crazy, unorthodox thing he's doing. It's just part of his game. I feel like when many people throw the spinning back kick, they think about throwing it maybe once or twice throughout maybe their career at some kind of Hail Mary or whatever, but it's not like that. It's actually a kick you can use very often when your opponent starts circling around you. Watch this. Often to get away from the left round kick, people will start circling away from Jon's power side there, so towards his right. The spin, however, you cut off that way. Your leg gets there first, and you're able to hit the opponent as they circle away from you. So watch, Gustafsson's going to start moving to Jones's right here, and boom, he gets cut off by the spinning back kick. That's a great setup for it. Here we can see it again. Look as Anthony Smith moves. Oh, he gets caught dead on. And here it is again. Moves, gets hit, and one more. There we go. You can also just go for it too. It doesn't have to necessarily be something that needs a setup. You can just go right in with your spinning back kick, and there's two ways to do that. The first being you throw it with the foot that you have forward already. So in this case, the right foot's forward. Jon Jones throws a spinning back kick with the right foot forward. Here's another example. Jon has the right foot forward, throws the kick with the right foot forward. The second way to do it is you step with your rear leg first, so that your rear leg becomes your front leg, and then you throw a spinning back kick. So watch this. Watch this leg here, this rear leg. If you pay attention to it, he's going to take a big step forward like at first, like so. Then he's going to throw that spinning back kick. The idea here being that if you step into it first, it's more powerful but slower, and just going for it is quicker yet a little less powerful. So pick your poison. Gotta talk about a thing pretty unique to Jon Jones, these combinations of kicks that have a little pause in between the kicks. I've never quite seen someone do the timing like this. He throws a kick, waits a second, throws another kick. He kind of goads you into this belief that the combination is over. He has a pretty sizable gap between the first kick, as you can see there, then the second kick. Now you might be asking, Tommy, is that even considered a combo anymore? Well, for the sake of this video, yes, because he does it so often, we're gonna say this is a type of combination. There's different techniques that he utilizes too when it comes to kicking combinations. The first one we're going to talk about being the side kick finish, and here's how I see Jon Jones setting this one up. First way is going to come off of Jon Jones throwing some type of left rear kick, then following in the side kick after that. Here's how it works. He starts with his left leg in the rear, then he throws a kick that backs up the opponent. When he's done with the kick, the left leg has become the lead, perfectly lining it up for that low side kick to the knee. You can see him do it here. Watch, his right leg is in the lead. He throws a back kick. Now his left leg has become the lead. Now he's lined up for that low side kick to the leg with the left. Here again, right leg is in the lead. He's going to throw a back kick. He lands with the left leg forward. Now the opponent doesn't quite realize the stance is switched and they're vulnerable to a low kick. So watch, right leg, throws it up with the snap kick, lands with the left leg in the lead. Now he's available for that left low side kick. Another way we can think of using this technique of ending with the side kick is getting the opponent so concerned about high kicks that they actually forget about low side kicks. You're so worried about your head, watch here, one head kick, two head kicks, that you forget to defend your knees. Back kick and low down with the side kick. By constantly changing up the level, you make it very confusing and scary for your opponent. Finishing with the oblique kick is another way that Jon Jones is going to end his combinations. And very similar to the side kick we just talked about, he likes to get your arms up high with some high kicks first before going to the low kick. So he gets you distracted with the body or head, making you forget about the danger that your knee is in. As you can see there, he went to go block a body shot. I think this kick is especially good as the last technique in your combination because it stops forward pressure, as you're seeing there. By stretching out that leg and blocking with a front block onto your opponent's knee, it's really hard for them to, say, charge at you after you've missed or something. This is a great kick to finish on. A back kick finish is when Jon Jones throws a technique that makes his opponent circle to his right, like so, and then lines him up perfectly to go right for the spinning back kick. That one didn't really hit well, but watch this one. Kick, makes him circle over to the right, and boom, nails him with that spinning back kick. So it's not just something he does when he's waiting for you to spin, he'll set you up as well. Another technique I want to talk about is this idea of a double kick. This is when he just quickly repeats the same kick that he just threw over again. It's very tricky because people usually don't think the same kick is coming twice in a row for whatever reason. Okay, so we've talked about how Jon uses his kick for offense. Let's talk about how his kicks actually form a kind of magical kick force field that is very difficult to penetrate for his opponents. As it turns out, in my opinion, Jon's number one offense is his kicks, but turns out his number one defense is his kicks as well. This is because by using the straight kicks like the side kick and oblique kick, he's able to stop the forward motion of the opponent as they try to come into him. By doing this, he really helps protect himself from straight blitz attacks like crosses, big wind-up hooks, smaller opponents coming in. This kick jams up that forward momentum and often gives Jon Jones just enough room, watch, to just slip away from big shots by interrupting their forward momentum first. The oblique kick and side kick are the preferred weapons for this because being in a straight line they tend to stop the counter right by buckling the knee. When you buckle a knee, you actually take away the opponent's main weapon against a good low kicker, which is that counter right. But with the oblique kick, they won't be able to reach you, or the side kick, either one. This nullifies that forward movement. Now, one thing about John, however, is that he's so good at kicks in general, he's able to nullify your forward movement with round kicks as well, by knocking your leg over to the side as you try to come in. So watch, Gustafsson tries to move in, but John kicks the leg out to the side, causing Gustafsson to trip and not be able to commit fully the way he wants to in order to hit John, or the way he needs to. Here, he kicks and goes right into some takedown defense. This ability to interrupt the opponent trying to attack by using his kicks is the best I've ever seen, and one of the secrets to being as good as Jon Jones. Okay, so we've looked at basically all of Jon Jones's kicks. Let's take a look at his punches now. You're gonna be amazed. He barely throws any punches when compared with his kicks. And the only punch he really throws a lot is the cross. So let's take a look at what he's doing with this here. Personally, I think what makes John so special with this move is he can throw both right-handed crosses, as you're seeing here, and left-handed crosses, as you're seeing here. This ability to land big shots with either the right or the left cross to the body and to the head is something pretty unique to a fighter. I haven't really seen it before. Maybe Wonderboy Thompson, but not like this. Not quite like this. One of the reasons he can throw it so often is because I'm pretty sure the length of his cross is the length of a lot of people's jabs. So he's throwing crosses at a range where people are usually throwing jabs at. So that is a big factor in why Jon Jones is so good with this technique. Now, there's one setup he uses more than anything, which is the fake takedown, where he reaches low at the ground, as you're about to see here, reaches low down like this, and then throws the shot right over the top. One of the reasons that this works is, even though Jon Jones is like one of the scariest strikers in the mixed martial arts rankings, he is probably by far the worst when he's on top of you. If Jon Jones gets on top of you, you are in for a freaking nightmare. He breaks orbital bones from there. He destroys people from down there. So people really react when they see him go for that fake takedown. To be fair though, he lands plenty without any setup at all, just throwing it right down the pipe. He even lands a sizable amount of these to the body, which is surprising knowing how tall he is. He's able to crouch down quick and low like that to land big, powerful shots to someone's guts. So the cross, big time weapon for Jones, always something you gotta watch out for when you try to fight him. So throughout the rest of my research on Jon Jones, I've found he really doesn't throw that many punches at all. Maybe 10 kicks for every one punch. He has a couple he uses still, including the jab, but not nearly as many jabs as you would think with that reach. In fact, all I have for the jab are these 4 clips that you're about to see. For some reason, he just doesn't need to use it, even though you think it would make sense. One that he throws a lot more than the jab, but still really not all that much, is the left hook. And he does do some good damage with this, but all you're about to see are the clips I have. Is really 8 or so, not that many. He is able to use this with his long range. He doesn't really necessarily have to lead with a jab. He's actually able to kind of come in with hooks as a way of attacking and initiating the action with his hands. So maybe that's the reason he doesn't throw many jabs. He's so concerned with the lead hook. And really, when it comes to the rest of the punches, guys, he really doesn't throw that many punches. It was one of the more mind-blowing things about this. He prioritizes kicks over punches. I mean, he's going to throw your rear hooks to the body once in a while. He did that in the Daniel Cormier fight. He threw some rear hooks to the body and the head. He's thrown some uppercuts. He's thrown 2 uppercuts, and he's thrown like a couple of overhands. This is a hook combination. But really, honestly, nothing statistically that relevant to be talking about. Unlike the elbows, he throws a lot of elbows, and this is definitely an area he actually seems to throw more elbows than he does punches, which is a really kind of weird thing to think about. That's what happens when you have the length that he has over everybody. And Jon Jones has some absolutely brutal elbows. They come from all angles. He's so tall, they land so hard. But there's one type of elbow he lands really way more than anything, and that is the lead elbow. The lead elbow is such a powerful weapon for Jon, and I hate to say it's just because of his height, but the height plays a factor. He's also tremendously skilled with it and has tons of interesting setups, but his height plays such a factor in that his come from around punching range. But let's look at one of the setups. We've got the fake jab to the lead elbow, and here's how this is gonna work, right? It's just like it sounds. You're gonna fake a jab. That's gonna get him to react. In this case, Rampage slipped, and that's when the elbow comes over the top for the strike. Here's another example, right? He's gonna throw out that fake jab. You can see that Rashad reacted to that jab, and then Jon goes in with the big elbow. So that's the fake jab setup. The next setup we're gonna talk about is something using what I call Big Brother guard. I'll get all into Big Brother guard later as we go on, but basically no, it's just when you just reach out and you stuff the guy's head or hands with your arm because you're so much bigger and taller. Here's another example, right? We have double hand control here, but it's Jon Jones just reaching out and grabbing them. From here is when he throws his elbows. And this position is really tough to deal with because when you get a guy that's this much taller than you and just knows how to reach out and grab you effectively, those elbows, especially the lead elbow, just come from everywhere. Jon Jones throws tons of spinning elbow and hits tons of spinning elbows. What you're about to see here is from the first time I ever saw Jones fight and the first time I ever saw him throw a spinning elbow. It was off of the single leg on Stephan Bonnar. He had the single leg opening up the back elbow as you're about to see here. First time I ever saw Jones, he was 19 and he did that. And when I saw that, man, I knew this is somebody special. The single leg setup was kind of a rarity though. Usually it's off of a fake takedown. So you can see he throws the fake takedown out here. That's actually drawn a counter uppercut from Gustafsson, which has left Gustafsson open if Jon Jones throws the right spinning elbow right there. Or is that a left? I couldn't see it. We'll keep going. Here you can see it again. I'll replay this slow, right? Look for the fake takedown. Did you see it? He goes over with the elbow after that. It works because people are so afraid of a Jon Jones takedown. Him being on top is a horrible place to see. Did you see it there? Ready? I'm not even going to put the arrows and stuff on it this time, right? Just watch. You see it? There's the spinning elbow off of the fake takedown. Now he does another spinning elbow off the cage, which has a different setup that I want to talk about later when we go over the clinch section of this video, but that is coming. When we talk about knees from the clinch, I wouldn't say Jones is doing particularly anything super interesting other than the fact that he's really good at the fundamentals, right? So he's good with knees whenever you clinch up, and he's especially good because he's so goddamn tall at grabbing your head and pulling you into some kind of knee. So you can see here he establishes some kind of grip on the back of your head, and with that amazing leverage he pulls you into a knee, and he's particularly good at doing this, and this is an area that is particularly dangerous. It's a unique problem when you face Jon Jones because he's got so many weapons just everywhere. So other than these types of knees, he's especially good at the flying knee. And one thing I really learned from studying Jon Jones is that he actually uses 3 different types of flying knees. The first way is when he throws the back leg first and does like a scissor. So watch this, right? The back leg comes up first. That's almost like a fake flying knee. That draws a reaction. Then he scissors and hits with the other knee. This is a very common way. This is one of the ways that he uses most. If you watch this here, back leg comes up first, then the knee. Watch for it again here. Back leg, then the knee. The second version that he throws is he just goes right in with the back leg. The rear leg itself is the one that does the strike. So watch this. The rear leg comes in and he stabs in with that rear knee as the method of attack. Watch again. Boom. You see that off the kick there?
This is for you.
That's another example there. He really went for it with that one. The third example is when he jumps up and uses the front leg as the striking leg. So watch this. You see his lead leg right now is the left leg. He's gonna jump up and use that knee as the strike, as you can see. Here's another one. Look at the left leg in the lead. He jumps up, throws the knee with the lead leg. So 3 different types there. One thing that is super duper unique to Jon Jones is the fake flying knee into the side kick. So watch if you can see it here, right? He goes fake flying knee into a low side kick. And he's even gonna do it again there, followed by some elbows off the big brother guard like we talked about, right? Look, he jumps up in the air and he fakes the flying knee. That gets the person so focused up that they forget about their leg, their knee. And this is when Jon Jones comes down and tries to absolutely crush your knee with a side kick. It is, I've never seen anyone else do it besides Jon. He goes with the fake knee and then he hits your side kick. Such a fun little interesting move. I challenge any of you to try to implement this into your sparring or your fighting. Try not to hurt your partners because it looks like it can get a little chaotic, this kick. And you know what? While we're on the topic of fakes, why don't we cover a couple more fakes, starting with the fake shot. The fake shot works so well for Jon Jones because no one wants to have Jon Jones on top of them. So we kind of talked about the cross and the elbow, but there's so many ways and attacks he can use off that fake takedown because, like I said, no one wants to end up there. So people react in droves to any time Jon reaches down with his hand. It's not even like he has to even do that much. He just has to literally reach down at your leg with his hand. Let's see if he does it here. Yeah, he just reaches down at your leg with his hand, that's it. And then people get clocked by what's coming next. Even if he doesn't throw a strike, he'll back up. Even if he doesn't throw a strike, people get afraid and they'll at least back up. You saw it right there. People do not want Jon Jones on top of them, so they always are wary about when the takedowns are coming in, and Jones absolutely uses that to his advantage. Okay, now this is pretty unique. We're gonna call this the look away. I saw this in an anime one time. If you're a Hajime no Ippo fan, you might know about this. But Jon Jones, look, he's staring at Daniel Cormier, then he's gonna look over to his left and throw a punch. Let's take a look at that again, because it's you might miss it. Look, he's staring at Daniel Cormier. He's staring right at him here. What he's gonna do is look to the left. So I'm gonna zoom in. Look, looks to the left and then throws a strike. Did you see it? Here it is again, right? So he's looking at Daniel Cormier. He's gonna look over to his left again. Watch, looks over to the side, and then he throws a strike. In this case, he's gonna throw a head kick. So, definitely an interesting one to play with. There you can really see it, right? Looking away, people, it's a reaction. They look where you look. Then you throw a strike. Now, if this wasn't a Jon Jones breakdown, the move that you're about to see would just be called the long guard. But the only way to describe the way that Jon Jones uses it is, I think you could call it just big brother guard. Anytime a person lunges at him, he can just reach his hands out and get back to safety, right? Anytime he misses, he can just lunge his hands out and get back to safety. Watch here, he's gonna miss that punch, then he just puts his hands out and gets back to where he wants to be. It can be done, what's the word I'm looking for? Proactively as well. He doesn't have to wait till you lunge at him. He can just reach out and stuff you, and that's exactly what happens. He stuffs you of all your offense, and all he has to do is move backwards when you try to come in at him. So look at this. He reaches out. It's really just stuffing the attacks of Glover Teixeira there, to the point where Glover can't get in, and Jon Jones is always able to kind of navigate back to where he feels safest. I would say that this big brother guard idea is Jon Jones's best form of defense. He nullifies so much by using this big brother guard. And he even does a version where he switches feet as he does it too. So watch. Jon Jones starts with the right leg in the lead, and as Daniel Cormier comes in, he's going to throw up the big brother guard. But what he did was he switched his legs so that his left leg is now in the lead. That allows him to make an angle to get away. So here you can see it again. Starts with the right in the lead, switches left in the lead. That allows him to angle out as he escapes a big brother guard. And one thing that makes big brother guard so crazy effective is he just kind of throws it up after he throws a kick, right? So this kind of style of kick and then big brother guard gives Jon Jones this massive insurance policy for any kick that he throws. So he kicks, look, there's the big brother guard. It was slight there, it was subtle before he takes it away, but it was definitely there. Let's take a look at another example here. Kick, he's even big brother guarding as he's kicking. But after the kick, the big brother guard goes up, nullifying the counter striking against kicks, and then Jon goes back to safety. This way, I mean, listen, if you're a big kicker, if you are a big kicker and you're tall and you're taller than whoever you're fighting, you need to study this. I mean, this is like he's actually fighting someone as tall as him here, and it was still working. The best insurance policy you have after throwing kicks seems to be this kind of big brother guard, especially if you're taller than the opponent. It may even work if you're shorter than the opponent, but you have better understanding of range and distance than your opponent. So please have fun with this one. For lack of better terminology, I'm going to call this the level change and run away. Understand that there are two distances Jones performs extremely well from. Those two distances being up close and far away. He doesn't want to be in the middle. So if he ever finds himself where he has a situation he could be in the middle, look at him here. He's going to change levels. He's going to go down. He's in the middle with Rampage. He goes down to avoid a punch, and now he's just going to back up. By doing that, he's reset himself back to a point where he has a significant advantage. He does this by either looking at you, the way you're seeing here, a classic kind of, and get away. We're now going to talk about his throws. He has unbelievable throws that make it so hard to even want to close the distance on him because he's just going to toss you. The most common one that he does is the trip. So I wouldn't describe it like you would a foot sweep, a Dayashi Barai, for instance, in judo. This is more of the fact that you thought you were going to be able to take a step that Jon Jones didn't let you take. See, he blocks your foot after applying a rotational force that would make you want to step. So what do I mean by that? Look here, right? He's applied a rotational force to Rampage that's making Rampage need to step, but he blocks that step with his foot, causing Rampage to lose his balance significantly, as you're seeing here, or it could result in a full-blown takedown. Look, he's applied that rotational force, he's blocked the foot, now he's going to take Rashad right over the top. He's even thrown an Olympian, Daniel Cormier, with this move. So, yeah, he's pretty good with this move. The one thing I'll say is even if you mess a move like this up, it doesn't really matter so much. The position you're in is not that out of balance. You can continue to fight pretty easily. Now, Harai Goshi is a move we consider in judo to be a hip sweep, a hip throw, that is done by doing a kick outside of both of the opponent's legs. So what do I mean by that? Check this out here. Harai Goshi happens against Stephan Bonner here when Jon Jones is going to take his leg and step completely outside of Bonner's both of his legs. With that whizzer, he's now going to continue the force to throw Bonner right over the top. So let's take a look at that again. See, the leg has stepped over Bonner's leg. He's now going to continue the force and get a hip throw where he had control of both of the opponent's legs with his leg. It's not quite a perfect Harai Goshi, but it's the closest thing I can think of to describe what he just did there. The next throw we're going to look at is called Uchi Mata, which I would describe as an inner thigh throw. That's actually what it translates to. Very similar to Harai Goshi, except for one key difference. Instead of both legs, John's now going to swing that one leg that's up in between his opponent's legs. So watch this. He goes in between. That lifts up one of the opponent's legs, and John continues the rotating force until he gets the takedown right there. Uchi Mata. A suplex. Suplexes are borderline mythical. You know, there's something that exists kind of like in Greco-Roman and WWE exclusively. So to see one live, this is the first fight I ever saw Jon Jones fight in, was pretty incredible. So here's how it's going to work, right? Notice Jon Jones has a rear body lock on Stephan Bonner. Right? That grip established around his waist is what's going to make this suplex possible. Now, I don't know how to describe this move any more than you just throw him over the back of you and roll out to the top position. To know about suplex. Suplex is fucking dangerous for everybody involved. So if you're ever going to throw a suplex, be very careful about throwing your suplex. The lat drop is kind of similar looking to a suplex, except for one key difference. You start facing towards each other. So let's take a look at this, right? Jon Jones is facing Stephan Bonner, and what he's about to do is establish double overhooks. If you just pay attention here, he gets these double overhooks, which are the grip he's going to use to do the lat drop. He's then going to use Stephan Bonner's force against him and throw him over the top in a spinning, rotating-like faction for the lat drop. Let's take a look again. He gets those overhooks. Stephan's pushing on him. He uses that force to throw him right over the top. Got an example of an outside hook type of trip here that I think is really cool. If you watch this, what Jones is going to do is he's going to establish a grip on Hua here that's kind of similar to a head and arm. He's then going to, once he has that head and arm grip, he's then going to reach around with his left leg and he's going to hook Shogun Hua's leg and then apply some force. That's going to take Shogun down here. So he goes down on the side where Shogun has no base and then he throws him there. Also can be done off a single leg. Even though Jon Jones's background is as a Greco-Roman wrestler, he's still nasty with the shot, shooting in for those doubles. And it's kind of crazy. I mean, if you look at guys like a Randy Couture, right, who is another light heavyweight who was a Greco-Roman wrestler, he didn't shoot a whole lot. His whole game was really based around pushing the guy against the cage and taking him down from there. Not only can Jones do that, like I was describing Randy Couture does, he's excellent at just shooting for the legs and taking you down freestyle wrestling style. So the combination of the Greco and the freestyle wrestling techniques, folk style wrestling techniques, I should say, are what make Jon Jones such a unique wrestler and such a unique problem to deal with. One move I would say that is intricately linked to the shot from folk style wrestling is the inside trip, as you're about to see here. With this trip, what John's about to do is apply a inside hook type of thing to the opponent's leg, and then from there he's gonna drive over that side, and that is what's gonna get the takedown right there. Very often, John Jones will combine this inside trip, as you see here. He's getting it, and he's going to apply the force to make Glover Teixeira trip. He's going to shoot in for a double leg on the cage, right? From here, he can lift you up. And then, he's going to get it. And then he takes you down. But he sets that up first with the inside trip. And then he shoots in after that for the takedown. So, John Jones is nasty with one particular version of the single leg finish if the double leg doesn't work. What he's going to do is he's going to start off by shooting and getting a double. So usually this is going to happen whenever a double leg doesn't work. What he's going to do is take his right arm and he's now going to, but also as a defensive tool is what I want to share with you guys. If you're really tall and you don't want that mid-range, a good thing to do is just shoot with the idea of tying him up and not necessarily needing to take him down. We're going to talk about John Jones on the cage next, and we're going to talk about several of the things that I think are pretty unique that he uses on the cage. But first, let's talk about getting the opponent to the cage. The most common way I see Jones getting his opponent onto the cage is by using the big brother guard to pressure the opponent onto the cage. So let's take a look at what I mean by that, right? John Jones starts by reaching his arms out. He's established what we've called the big brother guard there. From there, he just continues applying pressure to the guy until he backs him up to the cage. So not only is this big brother guard like an offensive and defensive tool, it is a tool that can be used to literally reposition the opponent. So he reaches his arms out, he's got him on the arms, and then he goes and he pushes him to the cage. This tactic is, this is tough. This makes this big brother thing he's doing just very crazy powerful and a big thing you got to deal with whenever you're facing John Jones. And I've never really seen him get punished too bad for it either, by just reaching out his hands and pushing you into the cage. He'll often collapse the guard and get closer to you as he goes. Now, when John Jones has got you on the cage, he does something more than I've seen anybody else do. Nothing to do with height. His ability to get wrist control. This is a guy that seems to go for wrist control above all else, while the rest of us are looking for more underhook, overhook, collar tie, that type of deal. He goes right for the wrist, and he sets up all types of things. Here we see another example of wrist control. The funny and interesting thing about him is that he is able to hold this wrist control for crazy, insane, prolonged periods of time. And that can be so incredibly frustrating when not only has he had control of your wrist, he's had control of your wrist for extremely long periods of time. Take a look at this insane duration that I'm talking crazy. And here's a secret. What he does is he grabs your wrist and then attacks. He's very good at going wrist to attack. This is the secret to John Jones on the cage. You grab the wrist, you hold it for a long time, then you break off and attack. While they're concerned with fighting wrist control, you're concerned with breaking their face. It is something that is incredibly dependent on how well you are at wrist fighting, which John Jones is fantastic in. So cage spinning elbow. This is why I didn't want to cover it earlier, is because this is a move where John Jones uses that wrist control to set up the spinning elbow. This is the secret to John Jones' spinning elbow. You have to be excellent at controlling the wrist, and you have to hold it for such a period of time that they kind of forget about it. And then when they forget about it most, that's when you go for the elbow. So look, for some reason, everyone just seems to forget all about this elbow, even though he does it on everybody. Wrist control, elbow.